Hi, welcome to Kids Art Week with Kyo Sondheim Presents, and I'm Diane Culhane, and I want to show you a really great lesson that you can do with kids of all ages. The younger kids might need a little bit of assistance, but the older kids can really take off with this, and adults are definitely great at this too. It's just your basic watercolor and wax resist, and so we're going to fill up the whole page, and then on the very bottom we're going to cut out like a cityscape. So I've done these two just as an example so you see what direction we're headed in. So the supplies that you'll need is watercolor paper or just really stiff paper, and then if you can get some black paper. And the basics of this lesson is crayons and watercolors. You'll also need a glue stick and, of course, water with brushes. And there's a couple of things that are optional that might make this lesson just a little bit more zippier and more interesting, which is some salt, and that's for the watercolor. And then you can also use oil pastels. Those work too, the combination. And at the very end, I'm going to show you something that you can do with pencils or Prismacolors, colored pencils if you have those around. But all those are optionals. So the real basics of this lesson is crayons, watercolor on paper. So I've chosen, out of the box, I've chosen the warmer colors because we're going to add dark watercolor colors to sort of make a really nice contrast with the night sky. So all you need to do is just fill up the page with crayons. Now there's a couple ways that I found that are really interesting, is that it's how you move your hand is how your marks are going to go on the page. But so you can have small movements, but you can also have larger movements. And I also think it's really good, and kids are really good at this, is going off the edge of the page. Because as you go off the edge of the page, you're not just focused on the inside part, but really think about it extending out through the edge. So you want to press kind of hard so it turns up to look like more of a wax resist. And you can switch colors often, and you can even, I'm going to do some circles with some stars on the inside. Of course, where you leave the white paper, that will be colored with the watercolor paints. And a white crayon ends up to be really interesting too, and you'll see how that shows up. And I think what I'll do on the bottom, sort of changing my mind about this, I'm going to use a green on the very edge, on the very bottom. So you could really mix this up. You're going to see how beautiful it turns out. And then I'm going to use a darker red. It's not really important to cover the whole page because you're going to want to see the watercolor, which will only stick to the paper. So just be aware of that, leaving some white behind. But I also am coloring the whole sheet with leaving pieces of the paper shining through. Okay? So once you have that done, then you'll just apply the watercolor paints, and I'm applying this pigment really thick, not too watery, but look how beautiful that is. So I'm going to have the top a little bit darker, and then I'm going to spread it out to be a little bit lighter in the middle. So I'm thinking of a night sky and how beautiful the stars are out. And so I'm varying the colors a little bit and how things are just starting to just shine brightly. And then at the bottom is we're going to put the black cityscape. So now this is where the salt comes in. There are some spaces here that the salt will do its, what the salt does is it absorbs the water and it leaves these little crystals behind. The only thing is you have to wait for that to dry to turn up. Is you can already kind of see what it's doing. It sort of pulls the water into itself. So that's the foundation. And then the second part of this is to take your black paper, and I had a sheet and I cut a small area out to create this kind of a look. But also if you want to, especially for the littler kids, that they probably need a bigger sheet, and then they can put larger forms in the space. So just with some scissors, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start on the side. And sort of think of trees and hills and valleys and buildings. Tall buildings, crooked buildings, short buildings. And then I'm going to put in a little bit of a taller tree. And then also some hills. And then on top of the hill, I'm going to put just some kind of a building on top. And the mountain's just going to go up higher. So then, with your glue stick, you'll glue that down. And you have a wonderful, amazing piece of artwork that you can do. You can also experiment with it. And I have done one more thing that you might want to do. This is a completed work where I took just some regular pencils, and I also used this is a Prismacolor, which is a colored pencil, or you can just use regular pencils and just create more of a design within the sky space. And now at this point, it's almost like a doodle, what I've done, but I also added a boat, which is kind of, you can't see it as the first thing you see. In fact, you see the color of the sky and you see the land, but it also sort of embellishes it just a little bit more and adds a different layer of interest to it. So that's our project, and I think you guys will come up with some amazing things that'll happen with us. So, okay, so thank you for joining us. And whatever you do in this lesson is going to just be amazing and just delight in what happens. And please share this online so we can see it. We all would love to see it, and have fun in the next lesson.